Well, the season started so strongly, the game started so promisingly, and then an injury to Patrik Laine and 4 unanswered goals from the Carolina Hurricanes meant that the Blue Jackets are starting their season with a pair of losses, frankly. So we're going to talk about that and also take a look at tonight's upcoming game against the Tampa Bay Lightning on today's Locked On Blue Jackets.
Locked On Blue Jackets, your daily podcast on the Columbus Blue Jackets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Blue Jackets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I am, as always, your host, Jay Foster, with a different background because I am in California at the minute. So enjoy this new change of scenery for people who watch the YouTube version of this show. If you're on the audio version, then we're on YouTube. So you can hit subscribe if you want to and come and enjoy the new digs for the next 3 weeks. This is Locked On Blue Jackets. We are going to be talking all things Blue Jackets, including the bad, the good, the bad, and it's mostly just bad. Let's be honest. Thank you for making this your first listen of the day every day. Locked On Blue Jackets is free and available on all podcast platforms and also over on YouTube, like I mentioned. So if you haven't hit subscribe, then feel free to do so. It helps me out. It helps you out. Everybody wins. Speaking of winning, the Blue Jackets didn't. We need to talk about the game, but I want to talk in a little bit of detail first about the Patrik Laine injury, because, man, what a rough start to the season for the Blue Jackets as a whole, for Laine himself, who really struggled with injuries last season. And, he looked really good in training camp. He looked really good in the preseason, scores the opening goal of the game 11 seconds into the period. And then maybe 5 minutes after that, leaves with an injury. Not anything malicious, just a weird hit that it looks like it hyperextended his elbow. He's out 3 to 4 weeks with an elbow strain, which I believe means he probably won't be playing in the Finland games against the Avalanche, which is really brutal. But it's gonna make things a little bit interesting for the Blue Jackets lineup in future games. They are currently playing Justin Danforth on that top line in lieu of Laine, which is a choice that I wouldn't have made, but don't necessarily dislike, I don't think. I personally would have put Chinakhov up there. I think Chinakhov had a fantastic preseason and looked really, really strong. He's not Patrik Laine in terms of scoring goals, but he clearly has a shot. He knows how to use it. Led the NHL in preseason scoring with 6 goals in, I think, 6 games. 5 or 6 games anyway. That feels like the natural option to me. I do wonder if they are just keeping that line of Chinakhov, Roslovic, and Voracek together to have like one consistent line. I know the Sillinger line has been moved around a little bit, and the fourth line is staying as is because the fourth line was fine, I thought. Nothing groundbreaking, but also nothing egregiously bad. So fourth line, fine. So we'll see how Danforth does. His spot on the third line has been replaced by Kent Johnson. Kent Johnson making his season debut tonight in the home opener against Tampa Bay. So we'll see how that goes. But let's not panic, because immediately I made some fairly pithy tweets on the Twitter about how if Laine's hurt, cancel the season. It's fine. I think for me, the thing is going to be getting a consistent replacement for Laine. I don't necessarily think that Laine being out of the lineup is going to be the end of the season. They have other players. I thought Jenna had a really good game on Wednesday night. I liked Gaudreau's game a lot. He didn't get on the score sheet, but he's one of those players that every time you watch him, he's just doing something really cool with the puck. And the Freddie Anderson had a really good game. We'll talk about Freddie Anderson in a little bit. But for me, like I said, the most important thing is find someone to replace Laine, stick with it, because you kind of saw that in the game. Gaudreau was good. He didn't ever really get a chance to settle into having consistent line mates. He played with Stillinger and Chinikov at one point. He played with Danforth and Rosovic. He played with Jenna and Chinikov. Like, it was a whole mess. It was a kind of a panic shuffle, I think, of, well, we haven't got Laine for the rest of the game, and possibly for the rest of October. So let's just kind of do what we can to get through this game. And that's maybe not the best way to do things, but I do understand it, honestly. I think the important thing now is, I guess, that he thinks Danforth is the best choice for that line, and if it works, great, keep him there. If it doesn't work, maybe give him the game and then reevaluate tomorrow. They've got a back-to-back, Tampa and St. Louis. It's going to be a rough back-to-back. They're flying out to St. Louis after the game tonight, so I'm expecting kind of a messy game in St. Louis, quite frankly. But again, that's something we'll talk about in a bit. Hopefully, Laine is back. Closer to 3 weeks than 4. I saw someone on Twitter being like, best case scenario is day to day, week to week. 3 to 4 weeks is not great, but it's fine. Apparently, the worst case scenario was potential surgery 5+ months out. So at least it's not that. I spent most of yesterday on a plane, and so when I finally got onto Twitter at the end of the night last night, I was like, right, I need to see what the prognosis is, because I knew there was going to be news while I was flying, and there was, and it turns out it was not great news, but not as bad as it could have been. So hopefully, like I said, Patrik Laine back closer to 3 weeks than 4. Maybe we'll see him in Tampa Bay. Fingers crossed. In a minute, I want to talk a little bit more about the game in general, who I liked, who I didn't, and we're going to talk about how annoying the Carolina Hurricanes are. But first, I'm going to tell you about BetOnline, because it's where the game starts. It's your number one source for football betting information this season. You can find player development, team matchups, news, podcasts, in-depth articles, analysis on every football game, college football game as well. They have everything. And as always, it remains your continued source for your sports wagering information. They've got live betting and up-to-the-minute scores for every sport out there. MLB, MMA, boxing, golf, basketball's coming back soon. The NFL, we mentioned that. And most importantly, the NHL. Ken Johnson making his season debut tonight. Maybe put some money on him scoring a goal, or even go crazy, put some money on Ken Johnson winning the Calder. So head to betonline.net on your laptop or mobile device to learn more, because BetOnline is where the game starts. And where the second segment is going to start is the Carolina Hurricanes game at large, because I thought there were some pretty good things, and then there was some not great things. So let's start off with the good, and then maybe we'll do bad, and then we'll finish with the good again. Daniil Tarasov, I thought, was excellent in this game. As we all know, I think everyone was expecting maybe something a little bit more chaotic, but he was controlled, he was clean, a little scrambly at times, but I think that's to be expected. The defense didn't really help him out at all, but he made, I think, 39 saves on 43 shots, which is, frankly, deserved the win. And unfortunately, the guy at the other end was maybe not better, but had definitely a better save percentage. And Freddie Anderson, I thought, had an excellent game, because he always seems to when the Blue Jackets are in town, and Blue Jackets just couldn't really get things going. Obviously, that first goal from Patrik Laine was really, really great, but then after that, it all just kind of went a little bit downhill. Laine left due to injury. The Hurricanes scored, and then Cole Sillinger scored. A really, really fun, really cool goal that, personally, I might be biased. I do think it should have counted. Rule of cool. But unfortunately, it was offside. So it remained 1-1 until the Carolina Hurricanes scored again. Seth Jarvis scored an unassisted goal not long after Laine left with the injury, I believe. And then Brady Shea scored in the second period, again, near the end of it, to make it 2-1. And then goals from Martin Necas and Alexander Svechnikov in the third period to make it 4-1. The good news is that none of those were power play goals. The penalty kill was pretty good. Power play continues to be haunted by ghosts, but the penalty kill, for the most part, I really liked. Technically, that unallowed Cole Sillinger goal was a power play goal, but alas, it was not to be. I think the biggest thing for me in this game was the defense. Obviously, the Laine injury did not help, but having 43 shots against on your essentially rookie goalie is, I don't think, a way to play the game. I know that Eric Branson in particular had a rough night out. I believe he was on the ice for 40 something shot attempts for and or against and 12 shot attempts for. So he basically they outshot attempted the Blue Jackets by like 30 when he was on the ice, which is not super conducive to winning games or scoring or not allowing goals. I don't know. And we're going with the Blue Jackets are going with the same defensive squad again tonight against Tampa Bay. I'm not sure that's the best move, but it's what Brad Larson wants, and so that's what Brad Larson's going for. We'll see. Maybe we'll get to see Nick Blankenburg draw it into a game with the back-to-back. We can only hope. The other alarming thing, but an unsurprising thing is face-off percentage. The Carolina Hurricanes won 61% of the face-offs. I'm just going to see what the face-off percentages were. Sean Corrali was at 36%. Justin Danforth was at 33%. Cole Sillinger at 20%. Boone Jenner was at 60%, near enough. So, again, my strategy of just let Boone Jenner take all of the face-offs is clearly one that requires some deeper thought. And then Jack Roslovic was at 30%. So not a great showing in the face-off dot tonight by basically any Blue Jacket except Boone Jenner, which, again, not surprised, but definitely something that needs to change, especially Sillinger and Roslovic specifically. They need to be better. They need to be better at face-offs. And I know that face-offs are not the be-all and end-all. And I think Micah McCurdy has specifically done some work on how winning a face-off affects the chances of it being a goal. And, it's not like a negligible amount, but it's also I don't know, face-offs are probably not as important as many people think they are, but they are also important. And a 20% success rate on face-offs for one of your top centers is not good enough, frankly. So that's something that I want to see change. Let's finish on something else good that is not goaltending. Honestly, I think Johnny Gaudreau might be my thing. He looked really good. Unfortunately, I think chemistry was an issue. He and Boone Jenner, I thought, were fine together, but that missing line A piece was a real detriment to the game and to his game in general. It was not necessarily his fault, but I really hope that they can find a consistent replacement for Laine. I think that's what the message from this game is. And also, Laine, he wins games. He just does. When he was out of the lineup last season, the Blue Jackets, I believe, went 10, 14, and 5 without him. So essentially, they won 10 games and lost 19 games when Laine was not around. So they need Laine. So hopefully he's back soon. If not, hopefully they can find someone to pick up the slack. I think Johnny Gaudreau is a good enough player that if they can find someone that has any scoring touch, that they can really capitalize on that. And that's kind of that. I was gonna, so I want to start a new segment in this season. I'm gonna call it Cannonball of the Game, and it's basically going to be the best goal of the game. Unfortunately, the Blue Jackets only scored one legitimate goal this season, or so far this season, I guess, in this game. But I am, in fact, going to give Cannonball of the Game to Cole Sillinger because of that sweet spinorama move around two Carolina Hurricanes defensemen. Was it offside? Yes. Was it cool as hell anyway? Also, yes. So that's my choice for Cannonball of the Game for Game 1. Goes to Cole Sillinger. I'm going to keep track of these, and at the end of the season, we'll see how many cannonballs everyone has. I'm calling it Cannonball of the Game because, for those of you who do not know, every time a home goal is scored for the Carolina Blue Jackets, the Columbus Blue Jackets, every time they score a home goal, they sign a cannonball and it gets put up on the wall in Nationwide Arena, which is super cool. And so I thought, hey, let's do something similar to that, and let's do Cannonball of the Game. So that's going to be a recurring segment, and I'm super excited about that. In a minute, we are going to look ahead to the Tampa Bay Lightning game tonight, take a look at their lineup and how sad this game is going to make me. And that's all coming up on the next segment of Locked On Blue Jackets. Welcome back to Locked On Blue Jackets. Unfortunately, the rules say that we have to play the Tampa Bay Lightning, so I figured we probably should talk about that. I'm not looking forward to this game. I think it's fair to say. I think having Laine out is going to be a problem. The Blue Jackets are going with Tarasov again. Elvis Merzlikins is, I think, healthy. He's recovered from his illness, which is a good sign. But Brad Larson said something. He hasn't had the practice time that Tarasov has. So I think what will happen is he'll probably start tomorrow against St. Louis. But for better or worse, Daniil Tarasov is going tonight. Again, welcome back to the NHL, Tarasov. Your first 2 games are against the Carolina Hurricanes and the Tampa Bay Lightning. So I think in fairness, again, I want to say I think Tarasov was the best player for the Blue Jackets last night. I thought he was great. I think they shall probably have another good game tonight. The Lightning also have not won a game yet. The Lightning lost their first game to the New York Rangers 3-1. So they are also apparently having trouble scoring goals. I believe their leading scorer. They have 1 goal. Stamkos scored the lone goal for the Tampa Bay Lightning. I expect him to score at least 30 more this season. And Nikita Kucherov, always a threat. Braden Point really kind of coming into his own. The Lightning are a problem. It's extremely stressful to me, a person who doesn't want the Lightning to succeed. But in terms of matchup, this could be a tough one for the Blue Jackets. I'm trying to think of a prediction for my who's going to win and who's going to score the first goal for the Blue Jackets. I was wrong on both counts in game 1, so let's continue that. Let's go with a 4-3 win for the Blue Jackets in regulation this time, and let's say I think Cole Sillinger is going to score the first goal. Why not? That's going to be my pick. That's my bold prediction / hot take. Someone, I think it was Greg Wagner, added the show podcast on Twitter being like, you promised lots of goals and no Laine injury. I want my money back. So hopefully I can be this is a little bit more of a accurate prediction. I don't know that it will be, but I'm going big or going home, frankly, and I don't want to go home. So I guess the only other option is to go big, and it should be an interesting game tonight. Vasilevsky was also excellent. He'll probably be playing tonight. He allowed 3 goals on just over 30 shots. So again, expecting him to have a good game. He always has a good game. But hopefully Tarasov has one too. And that's kind of all I've got for you today. Tomorrow, we're going to do a weekend episode because I didn't do one episode yesterday, talking about tonight's game, looking ahead to St. Louis, see how they're doing. So that's going to be tomorrow's episode. We'll do a game recap and also a game preview in one episode because I'm nice like that. Thank you for listening. Thank you for making this your first listen of the day. Locked On Blue Jackets is free and available on all podcast platforms. It's also on YouTube. If you haven't hit subscribe over there, then please, please, please do so. I did not hit my subscriber goal by the time Puck Drop happened, but I'm super excited by how fast the channel is growing anyway. So feel free to mosey on over there and hit that subscribe button. I've been Jay Foster. You can find me on Twitter at _Jacob Foster, JAKOBFORSTER. You can find the podcast at LO_Blue Jackets. If you have comments, questions, criticisms, you can email me at lockedonbluejackets@gmail.com. And until tomorrow, make sure you stay locked on.